What's up, guys? Igor Henriquez, Joe Ferrari on the block. Raptors down 0-2. That was a big game, obviously. We talked about it earlier that Raptors obviously needed to win the game. And up 10 in the fourth quarter. I know that some people made money on that game, bet in the game when they were down 10. And as a Raptors fan, you hate to see that because where do you go from here, really? Especially against such a strong team like Boston, a team that's kind of sucked the life out of us. I want to get to your thoughts right away.
Well, I mean, and this might be a bit of a tangent or a rant. Going on game two, and we can talk about the series in general, but game two, I'm a big OG guy, but if OG is your best scorer and leading the team in points, you're not going to win the game. Simple as that. And OG, he's getting to a good point and so forth, but he's the type of guy that I'm expecting 10, 15 points, not to lead the team in scoring. But anyways, to dissect yesterday, there was a lot wrong with yesterday. Their shooting has been absolutely abysmal. 25% three-point shooting in game one, 27% in game two. The two worst shooting Raptor games in the franchise history, and the team's been around for 24 years. And those are the two worst games that they've shot the three ball. Couldn't have come at the worst possible time. But I mean, again, we can dissect how bad they've all been bad. Besides, I would say Serge and OG. I can't name anybody else that's had a good series so far. The guys, and again, you go to the tape, it's over. I legitimately 100% claim.
Just take a look as you go through.
Yeah, I 100% claim that all they needed to do to win this series was to equal out the Boston Big Three in points or even get into the vicinity. And that has not been the case. Yesterday, I know, like on point differential, the Boston, Kemba Walker at one point was 1 for 11. 1 for 11. And I get that Marcus Smart turned into Steph Curry in the fourth quarter, hit five threes, and that's, he might not have a quarter of that in his life. He's hit 11 threes against the Raptors in 2 games. He had 2 threes against the 76ers in 4. That's not his game. And again, you can tell even by the presser afterwards that, with Kyle, like shrugs that off as an anomaly that's never probably going to happen again. And it probably won't. Who the heck knows?
But the fact is they lost.
The fact is they lost in a very winnable game when one of the big three, yes, Tatum had a great game, but Kemba was completely off his game up until literally at the end. And we go back to, are they prisoners of the moment and the DNA of this team? Serge and OG have come to play. I can't... Mark's been a black hole offensively.
It looks like he doesn't even want to be there almost.
The problem that again, and I think it was brought to my attention that Mark at this point in his career is a matchup player. When a team's got a strong big like Vucevic and Embiid, Mark does a decent job. Now that's not the Celtics game because they don't really have a big. Now saying that, Williams yesterday was incredible. I thought he did a great job off the bench, but. The problem here is that the Celtics are a real quick team, and Mark lacks any lateral movement. So, what do you do as we'll get to Nick Nurse in a little bit because I think he's been outcoached significantly. What do you do in Game 3? I would not start Mark. I would put Serge out there, and I actually want to see more, especially on the defensive end. I want to see more of Rondé Hollis-Jefferson because I haven't seen much of them at all.
And Norm Powell. I want to see both.
Again, you need quicker guys in there that are going to handle some. The Celtics are playing very limited minutes. Williams. I mean, they had a couple guys come in. They're actually using their bench more than the Raptors are using theirs, which is like surprising.
So Grant Williams, Robert Williams, Bajole, and Wanamaker were the only guys who saw minutes for them, right?
And that's on the Raptors. I believe they only used. Who did they use? They used Serge off the bench, and then they used
Serge 27.
Terrence Davis, I believe it was. That was
Powell had 13. Boucher 9. Davis 6.
And here's the thing. So you bring in, and that was another thing on the Boucher situation. So you bring him in and Nick Nurse to try to get another big in there. They ran no plays for him. They didn't give him the ball. I had no idea. Like he had a matchup with Marcus Smart on the inside. They did not even give him the ball. He was ineffective. I didn't see the whole point of that. But overall, like I said, and I know you want to talk about Pascal and all these guys, but the reality is that the Celtics Big Three have simply outplayed the Raptors Big Three, and it's been a significant difference. And that's what the series has been. Because if you look at it, Smart gives you this, but OG's giving you that. You're getting Williams and Ibaka going back and forth. But the difference has been that their Big Three have been significantly better than the Raptors' Big Three. And then, there's some coaching decisions that I think are all over the map, and we'll get to that. But again, the situation is, when your backcourt, I believe, was, I think they were
Kyle Lowry 5 for 16.
5 for 6, and I think from 3, they were 5 for 22. That's not
Kyle
going to
Lowry
win. That's
0
not going
for
to win
7
games.
from 3.
Yeah, that's not going to win you games. No, actually, I'm sorry. That's Fred. That's 5 for 22 in both games.
And Fred was 3 for 12 last game.
That's not.
That's a combined 3 for 19 from the 3-point line.
And that's
you're not going to win any. And the crazy part is, like I was saying earlier, they only lost by 3 points, shooting that bad.
Well, again,
right?
and we had this discussion like earlier on about the Portland game when the Portland beat the Lakers, and I wasn't worried because at the end of the day I saw the Lakers stats and I'm like, well, they only lost by 7, but they shot the ball 19% from 3. It's an anomaly, and this is a situation that I don't think they'll continue to shoot that badly. It'll almost be an impossibility to keep that up. Like, I get that the Celtics are solid but they're missing open looks. Like some of these, like I'm yelling at the television.
Fred had I remember the top of the screen, wide open look.
Like Serge is, I'm sorry, but like Serge to me, he's actually been a good.
He's
player,
been one of the better.
But usually when I see him throw up the 3, I'm a little more cringy because I don't really believe that's going in half the time. Yeah. But he's proven that he can hit the shot.
He's been one of the better guys in series.
But again, if you go to the 3s, him and OG were the best 2, and those guys aren't the best 2 point shooters. But now, here's my thing. You're struggling from behind. You're struggling from behind the arc. You got a guy. I get that Matty Ice isn't the best defensive player in the world, and not even anywhere close to on the team. But if you need a big shot on the 3, put him in the game.
At this point, yeah.
Like again, it boggled my mind. And again, I've had my issues with Nick Nurse, and I've mentioned it before. Coach of the year, I'll give him a full credit. He did a solid job so far in the regular season with his team. And again, in that series, whatever, they were playing guys that I'm like 10, 11th men all for the majority of it. That was never going to be a big test, whatever way. He's getting out coached by Brad Stevens. 6 seconds left in that game yesterday, and I mentioned this to you off air. Everybody, I've coached JV level basketball. You take a timeout and you set a play.
Advance the ball.
You advance the ball. Yeah. You set a play and get somebody with an open look, or
get the matchup you want.
Get the matchup that you want, and get the shot that you try. Off of a block or whatever the heck. And you don't shoot like have Fred run up the ball and heave a 40-foot-5 shot off the end where he wasn't even legitimately, he was getting covered. He wasn't like, didn't legitimately have it open, and that's the way they end the game. I was mind boggled by that, and that's a situation where you call timeout, you get Matty Ice in the game, he gives you an option, and if it goes in, it goes in. But it just boggled my mind that Nick Nurse decided not to do that in that situation. It's an absolute brain fart from the coach of the year. And he deserves criticism for it.
He does. No, 100%.
100% deserves criticism for it. And because it made up, it looked like he got lost in the moment, didn't know how much time was on the clock. But you call time out there. There's no way you're getting a decent shot off where they are. It's with 6 seconds left and having to run the entire length of the court. So again, they're between Nurse and the star players. They've been a catastrophe from the majority of the game. Now, so you can say, whatever. Smart makes 5 shots. Are you going to get 1 from 11 from Kemba next game? No, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get that.
That's the thing. You had chances to win winnable games.
This is a very winnable game. And there's my rant for now.
Speaking of rants, we need to get to Pascal Siakam. And we've heard from some of our boys, posting stuff saying that, maybe we need to cut him some slack. I don't think we need to cut anybody slack at this point. I'm going to go on a rant. The guy's making $150 million. I know the contract doesn't kick into next year. I don't really care. 11 for 32 in both games combined so far. Okay, 17 points last game, and yeah, sure, the guy grabbed 8 rebounds, 6 assists. At some point, you have to do something if you can't score the ball. We're seeing that we're missing Kawhi. We're seeing 100%. We're missing Kawhi. Like same way Philly missed Jimmy buckets, and shout out to him for killing it last game. These are, and this is why in basketball it's so important. You can talk about guys, in the regular season, like Pascal's going to drop 35 against Phoenix. We know that. That's cool. It looks great on the resume. You can make an all-star team. How many guys in the league, and we're seeing it now with Jamal Murray, can you say, lead us by example, go out there, drop 30, provide some gravity for our team, give someone else a one-on-one matchup so that they beat their guy and you're going to go to the net for an uncontested layup. There's not going to be help there sagging off Gasol, sagging off guys that aren't hitting shots. The defense not really running to recover because they're willing to let the Raptors hit shots because they haven't hit anything. Like you said, Gasol's been a black hole. Siakam, all the credit to the guy for being the 27th pick in the draft. We've seen his growth from Casey benching him and playing him. He's been really good. But is this a guy that you want to say, okay, like this guy's going to be the best player on our team if we're going to win a championship? And the Raptors still have championship aspirations before this series.
See, here's the thing, and I mean Pascal's not Kawhi Leonard. He's not. He's just not Kawhi Leonard. Now, is he better than what he's shown so far? And even those numbers, like 11 for 30 again, I think he hasn't been over 50% in terms of shooting the entire playoffs. So he struggled coming into the bubble.
And 1 for 7 from 3 in the series.
The issue is that he's not dropping any of the shots from 3. And again, the Celtics sort of have him figured out in terms of what it looks like he's going to do that spin move almost on every situation.
Shoot the ball.
And the reality is this: if you look at last year, this is a very similar tale to last year in terms of not even the Bucks series, but the series with the 76ers. Because what we can say, games. If not for Kawhi in that series, how bad they were through the first 3 games,
terrible.
They were done.
Kyle was terrible.
They were done.
Yep.
Without Kawhi latching onto those games, dropping 30, 35s, all the situation, they would not have won that Philly series whatsoever. Because and now you have the situation where who's stepping up and taking that lead role for the team?
So
who's that? Again, I think OG led the team with 20. I don't think anyone had more than 20 points the first game. That's not going to win you a playoff game. You need somebody to have a game. Whether it's Fred, who's the catalyst on offense. I haven't seen it. Again, I would change. Again, Mark is making $25 million. That doesn't really matter at this point. If he can't keep up because he's too slow and realistically he's not doing much out there, because at the end of the day, like I said, his slowness is been a bit of a problem. I start Serge. I give more minutes to Rondé, who's again, and the thing they're out.
A few minutes.
They're out hustling us for rebounds. I should say us, them, the Raptors, and that's a heck of a problem because they just look like they want it more, and they're tougher. They're tougher. They grind. They're not big guys. They're not giants out there. They're
they're all the same size, pretty much, right? They're all about 6'8", 6'9", 6'7".
Yeah, they're acting out. They're out there like dogs. There's no way they should be out rebounding guys when we have 2 centers in the game. So
so we need to talk about that breakdown play where Kyle went for the defensive rebound. Remember off the missed shot, it led to Siakam having to close out on Tatum, 90 to 87. And I was watching the game, and I said right away when he hit that shot. So Kyle goes for the defensive rebound, 90-87, misses it. All of a sudden, Kyle's late to react. The ball comes around, swing, and now Siakam's forced to guard 2 guys with Kemba in one corner and then Tatum up top.
I'll give the Celtics credit on one thing. Their speed overall in general is giving the Raptors a lot of problems because they are the quicker team. That's giving the Raptors a lot of problems on D with the switch offs. They haven't been able to handle Tatum all that well in general. And the Raptors, who are usually a very good defensive team, are having significant problems running around chasing them on the court. Again, and to me, that might be slightly a personnel issue. Because you got to get quicker. I don't think that Nurse has done a decent job because, when Gasol fouled out with he barely played in the damn game. He fouled out I think it was about 8-9 minutes to go.
21 minutes he played and he fouled out. Unacceptable. He can't keep up.
He can't keep up because again they're too quick. They're too quick out there. You got to go to a smaller lineup, a quicker lineup, and give Ron. And again, Tice is not
he's not a threat offensively.
Not much that bigger than Rondé. I would give Rondé more minutes and have him grind out because I know Rondé's going to bruise with him and he's going to get some boards, and that's all we need him to do. We don't need him to score 20 because again Mark's not scoring anyways. Yeah. So you might as well get a quicker guy out there, give him a little bit more of a presence. Mark had a couple of decent shot blocks. Besides that, he was a black hole. And again, he should be in reality inside with Tice and with Williams.
It should be a matchup problem.
Williams has been better than Gasol,
100%.
and he makes it. He makes he probably makes a couple million.
Not even. He's on a rookie deal.
Yeah, it's ridiculous that he's outperforming him because that guy almost tore his ankle yesterday going for an offensive rebound. He dunked it and almost tore his entire leg.
I remember that. Yeah, and that's the thing. If you're Nick Nurse, what are you telling the guy at this point? Because you're down 0-2. We can talk about the championship chemistry, pedigree, all that stuff. But if you're not going out there competing, willing to grab those offensive, defensive rebounds, then what are you doing? Because the team right now, you go down 0-3, it's embarrassing if you're going to bow out. At least you want to go down, win a few games. And not to say they can't win the series, because they can turn this around real quick. I don't want to say that they can't. But they need to make some personnel changes, like you said. I think that they need to banish Gasol for the time being.
Yeah.
Maybe even start Boucher. Just to give a different look. Bring Gasol off the bench. Sorry, not Gasol. Ibaka off the bench. Give him go against their bench unit.
Yeah, I mean,
you got to try different things at this point.
I think Serge has been again deserves the minutes. You need to give guys, and again the Raptors' advantage in here. We said it was going to be the bench. Now the Celtics don't use they always have two of those out of the three usually on the court. They don't really rest guys. They don't put in a full bench unit because they don't have the depth and they know they have problems. So they keep Tatum and all these guys out there for a while. They don't really give them a huge amount of rest, but they need. And again, and let's be honest here, the whistle's been a problem as well. And again, Nick Nurse didn't want to say anything much yesterday. It's not even that Tatum. They didn't have a free throw shot the first half. That's a problem.
It's also a problem on the Raptors not being as aggressive as they should. I know that they're not getting every call, but if they're not going to the rim,
but
we watched that
zero free throws for the entire half. The first game there was a catastrophe that the Raptors were getting called for every little thing. You need some semblance of reasonable officiating. Again, if one team's going to the line 10 times and the other team's going to the line 0, I don't know.
Total free throws 25 to 19.
Yeah, later on they equaled it up because at the end of the day, these guys also know that they go look at the stats. I'm like, damn, we haven't given these guys one free throw. You know what? And Nurse basically said, Nurse said that Tatum went to the line as much as the whole team.
But they also shot the 20. They missed 2 free throws, 23 for 25.
Yeah,
right, and that's kind of unheard of as well.
Kyle for 2 was actually.
And then 16 for 19 the Raptors. So both teams shot pretty good from the line. Yeah. Just Boston went there more. Rebounds pretty similar.
Oh, they beat us again, and the turnovers. They turned the ball over significant more.
Due to the pressure, right?
No, but actually the Celtics have been the more turnover-prone team. The Raptors just haven't taken advantage of it because they can't hit any goddamn shots, and that's the problem. Again, if they hit 35 to 40% of the threes,
you got to think they win a few games.
They win a few games. Yeah. It's that simple.
It's at least
you got to drain
series.
some threes. And again, we talked about it. This team is if they get swept. It's not, and again, here's the thing. If they get swept, is it going to be the end of the world? No, because you know what? You won the championship last year. Well, what the hell can you really say?
Second round.
They're not going to win the championship every year. Those aspirations are a little bit thing. But if they get swept, yeah, it's a really bad look because it goes to those people, and I'm sort of one of them, that states that a lot of the success last year was because of Kawhi Leonard. Yeah. And that's just the reality because you have the core guys were the ones that were before Kawhi, were the ones that were doing exactly what these guys are doing now.
I was going to say, is Pascal Siakam now become the de facto DeMar DeRozan?
Yeah, and that's the situation. And I don't want to think about it like that because I'm a big fan of Pascal, and they have more depth than a lot of those teams have. But again, under the pressure, even in the fourth quarter, they I think it was a 23-8. They got outscored. You're not going to win games like that.
You're up 75-65. I believe it was the fourth quarter. For sure, late in the third. You can't blow the game like that, especially on dumb defensive blown assignments. Like we said, we talked about that Tatum 3 to go up 93-87. And to be honest, although there was 4 minutes left in the game, I think that once Nurse called the timeout, you could feel the team was deflated. Sure. And based on the way they're shooting the ball, it's not like they have really any confidence. Who are you going to get the ball to? Who can you, Fred and Kyle shooting how they're shooting with a guy in their face. Not like they're wide open. They're not hitting wide open shots anyways. You're going to tell Siakam, go get me a bucket?
I would have banned the families from showing up. It's all business.
You think so?
Exactly like Jimmy was doing it, and like Jimmy's now
it's a business trip.
Breaking news: the Miami Heat are up 2-0 against the Bucks. It's a business trip. Again, everyone was like, oh, and Fred's daughter, cute as can be. I'm not saying anything about that cute as can be. But and everyone's always gonna drop 40. He didn't drop anything. It's let's be real. He didn't drop anything. Like everyone's like, oh, he's gonna drop 40. The kids are super cute, and they are. But he's gonna drop.
He needs another kid, maybe.
And here's the thing. I think that the Raptors situation, and I'll give credit to the Celtics defense. The Celtics defense is primo.
It's there all the time.
Yeah, it's primo, but it's not primo to the fact that you should be dropping 25% every couple of games. And do I expect a better game in Game 3? 100%.
Raptors favored by 1 next game,
which is insane to me.
It was insane. They were favored last game. I told my buddy, I said I'm betting the house on the Celtics.
They've been favored the entire time because Vegas knows at the end of the day
they want to get money on it.
Not even that. They know that overall that the Raptors are the better team, which most people think they are. The issue is that Tatum and Siakam, who most people probably have maybe Tatum slightly over him, has been significantly better. that he's been a superstar player, and that's what's carrying the Celtics. And the Raptors need that out of Siakam one way or another, or somebody to step up and have a game. I need somebody to drop 25, 30 points next game. Somebody, whether I could, Norm, no matter who the hell it is.
It would be nice to get two guys to do that, right? One guy might not be enough.
And that's the situation. Now, can they win 4 out of 5 to win this series? Do I legitimately feel they can pull that off? Probably not.
Well, we didn't think that last year against the Bucks either, right?
Well, see, here's the thing. With that situation, it's you have a catalyst, you have a superstar player. Where I still had confidence that again they lost 2 road games.
Yeah.
They came back to Toronto. You got a legitimate star in Kawhi Leonard. That you still got all the hoopla with the Game 7 thing. You have. To me, it's a thing. It's an aura that Kawhi calmed those guys down for the most part. He knew that, you know what, if I have a bad game, Kawhi's gonna pick me up, or Kawhi's gonna pick me up, or like Kawhi, we're gonna screw getting one. We're going for 2. Yeah. They need a little of that because here's the thing, and I've said it in numerous amounts. With the special correspondent can see what is this. When it's that gentleman leading the squad, Mr. Kyle Lowry, remember, from West from Philly. They've had more playoff collapses than not, and it's been the reality of it. He was before last year's run, he was below 500 in the playoffs, and that's just the reality of things.
The better seed in most of those series.
Seed in most of those series. Sweeps from Washington, bad losses to Brooklyn. It was sweeps from LeBron on multiple occasions. Like it's problematic in those senses. So yeah, Kawhi calmed them down because they know that, you know what, he was the 3rd, 4th option at times last year with Kawhi there. Now that gets bumped up where now Pascal, who's playing shotgun, now plays a lead role, and now he's getting all the doubles, he's getting all the pressure, and yeah, he's a young guy. Should he be criticized for some of the way that he's been playing? Sure. Is it too much in the moment because it's his first time out there with that amount of pressure on him? You could argue that. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you're Mr. Pisces himself. Joel Embiid's crying on Twitter saying that he's sad. Like
he needs a sports therapist, right?
Well, that's what I'm talking about. These guys, you need that mental toughness. And yeah, Game 3 will show a lot of their mettle. If they lose Game 3, they're swept. I have zero confidence that they lose the next game that they're going to win any games because if they go down 3-0. To me, they're not going to win anything because I think that's too much of a hole, and then they'll be mentally defeated, and then they'll be real done. I'm expecting them to be hard-nosed. I'm expecting that Kyle with his charges and taking charges.
We need more from Kyle, not even just on the court scoring points. You talked about Kawhi and the aura that he had, the confidence the team had him. I know that Kyle's obviously not Kawhi, but even after the Game 1 loss, I remember watching the post game, and Kyle's just there almost sulking with his mask on. We're going to be better. Dude, we need, you're the leader of this team. You want to be in the Hall of Fame. You talk this game like you're one of the best point guards in the game. Prove it. Can you prove it to us? We've seen you hit shots as the second guy in the finals. You had a big Game 7 or Game 6 in the finals last year to close it out. As a second or third guy.
4th option, even if you think
right? And that's fine, but the Raptors need him more than ever now. Right? To live up to the contract, to live up to the greatest Raptor of all time, all this stuff. Because I'm just saying, a lot of people still think that he's the greatest Raptor ever, based on just longevity and numbers. When I don't want to get into that, but we need Kyle to show more.
Another half hour.
We need Kyle to show more because, to be honest, to cement his legacy, you can't have this. You got to think he's shooting. What's he shooting from 3? You pulled 20%.
It was again. Fred was doing 5 for 22, but again, yesterday's game he said he was a 1 for 7.
Yeah.
Or 0 for 7. No, he didn't even hit one yesterday. He didn't even hit a 3 yesterday. He chucks. And here's the thing. He's a guy that he's a guy. He's one of two ways with Kyle.
0 for 7.
You either 0 for 7. You either love the guy or you really hate the guy. There's not really a middle ground to Kyle. And I will give him credit where credit's due. Game 6 and all of that. He can be a guy that irritates the crap out of
He's like a Marcus Smart. There's similar players, right?
Similar players.
Obviously more skillful Kyle, yeah.
Good Lord about that flopping with Smart. I haven't seen a flop like that in a decade.
Yeah, the fast break.
On Siakam. That was horrific. But he's a guy that his decision making at times just makes you want to like he'll go 1-on-5 where he has legitimately almost no chance of getting the bucket, and he's looking for foul calls. He's looking for bailouts from the refs, and the refs obviously sometimes, depending on the refs, they'll give it to him. But he takes these, and again, the guys aren't even down the court. He'll run up the court, take a three with no chance of getting no one getting a rebound.
Three, the Dirk Nowitzki. You're not Dirk.
It's not. It's one of those situations where it's very low percentage plays, or even getting a second chance opportunity.
And that'll work against Sacramento in February.
Sure,
no problem.
Sure.
But you can't do that in the playoffs.
And that's why it's a. And yeah, he'll take the charges. He's a tough little guy. I'll give him credit.
Sure.
But he's very infuriating at times with some of the decision making. And I'll be honest, and I've watched all the Raptors games in the bubble. The only game that I thought he had a real top level game.
Game one.
Lakers. The Lakers game. Yeah. Where he was like, oh man, Kyle had a great. I was praising the guy. I was on social media, man. Kyle was going. That was about it.
Does he have to play LeBron every game to bring that kind of intensity?
And again, he's getting paid $30 million. It's not like this guy's getting chump change money. He's getting paid like a star. He puts up 15 and 8, and I'll hear a couple of my buddies saying that he's Mr. Effort, and Kyle's the big
the bulldog,
and all this. But again, I don't like. We're gonna. I hope again if they lose the next game, I better not hear any. But we're gonna come out in a rumble and then he scores 5 points. That's where I legitimately got off the couch. That was a couple of years ago against LeBron, where LeBron
was that when DeMar fouled out in the last game too?
Yeah, and he's all we gotta go over there. We gotta rumble in game 4, and he comes out with a 5-piece. I'm sorry, that's what I'm talking about. He's a greatest Raptor of all time. Never in my mind. It'll never be that in my mind. He gets a lot of credit for last year, which I don't think is deserved realistically at all. Yeah. Like again, I'll give him credit for Game 6.
Fred was probably the better player in the playoffs, right?
Well, see, Fred had a
better finals.
Had a bad first 2 series, and then the last 2 series he was solid. Like Kyle had his moments too, and so forth. But again, he wasn't the catalyst of the team. You're not giving him like, Kyle.
Give the ball to Kyle.
Kyle's the man. Kyle's the man. Who needs Kawhi? That's all baloney. That's all baloney. Yeah. Nobody in their right mind, unless you're really on this guy's back, if you actually legitimately believe that he's the number 1 player that will get you a championship, it won't happen. There's no freaking way.
And with Siakam as well, right?
Well, here's the thing with Siakam. Siakam, at the end of the day, you can legitimately say that he has some growth, and he hasn't really been in that position where you can say that he's been a legitimate failure consistently. Last year, heck, that last play against Draymond Green was a hell of a play. Yep. And again, but it's also that again now he's in a different role. Now he's the star. And again, the team's done so well simply based on the fact that Fred's been solid this year. They've had like guys Norm drop 25.
That's what I need more minutes from Norm. I think whatever he's given them so far has been good.
But he's missed plenty. He's not shooting the ball well either. He's had 14 points the entire series.
The thing I like about Norm is at least he's going to go to the rim ferociously. He'll dunk on guys. He'll put some pressure on the refs and blow the whistle, which really nobody else on this team can do consistently.
I need more, again, not offensively, but I need more Rondé Hollis Jefferson in there on D. And I need
Matty Ice
and Matty Ice with some trying to get this 3.
Stretch the defense. At least you know the guy's gonna hit shots, right?
Again, he's gonna hit shots. He's a very good 3-point shooter. Get him in there at least for a couple of minutes. I don't know what. Like yesterday, like I said, 6 seconds left. You throw him in the game. You try to get him the ball, or at least he's a decoy because they're gonna think you're gonna give him the ball, and then you try to hit that 3. Yesterday could have ended miraculously different with some smarter coaching. And yes, Pascal with again smartened up. Watch your foot, but again, and he got stripped by Marcus Smart too. So it was abysmal at the last couple of legends from Siakam, but it was also abysmal coaching. Like I don't know. Like again, maybe they're the kryptonite. Like they didn't play well with them in the regular.
Well, that's the thing. I wanted to talk about some other series as well. And I had said earlier that I thought that Miami and Boston 2 worst matchups for the Raptors, just based on how well they guard the Raptors and how they give them fits. Milwaukee's down 0-2 as well. Yeah. Right, the number 1 and the number 2 seeds both down 0-2.
Who would have predicted that one?
Exactly, and credit to Jimmy Butler, because that's another guy where if you have the best player on the floor, and he has been the best player on the floor, and he's proved that in playoff series. I don't know. I'm not that surprised. He's a guy that he's one of the better clutch shooters, I think, in the game. Players.
You expect the MVP of the league to be the best player on the court, right? You got to, because that's what Giannis is going to be, right? Giannis is going to be the MVP of the league.
But we know he's not a shooter. And you need to be able to shoot in the playoffs because defense is going to collapse.
Yeah, if they lose that series, there might be some heads that might roll with that one too. That's going to be if they lose in the second round, that's going to be a big problem. I think there's actually I saw today there's actually reports that he's thinking about going to Miami. That'd be an interesting situation.
On the cap, I don't think you can side Bam and have all those guys if that's the case. But let's say that the series stay the same. Boston plays Miami in the East Final. Who do you think comes out of there?
I mean, based on the fact that with the
I know
Celtics
that this is
playing,
premature, but just saying.
I would say that if the Celtics end up beating that was to me this was going to be the hardest matchup for the Raptors, because I think they know how to defend Giannis, and I think they're just more overall star power on the Celtics, because I think they legitimately have, I think Chris Middleton isn't Kemba Walker. I think Kemba's a better player, but again, legitimately, if the Celtics win this series, I think the Celtics are on the point of the finals.
Really?
Yeah. Because I think overall inside, Bam's an issue, but I think that Miami would have issues with Tatum and Brown, and I think Miami would have issues with Kemba, because Dragic is old.
Dragic dropped 23 today, led the team.
And he has, but again, limited minutes. I watched the Raptors game against the Heat. They gave him a good run. Again, they have the 3-point shooters, and Duncan Robinson can shoot. Tyler Hero can shoot. But I would give the overall matchup there to Boston. But like I said,
I'd take Miami.
You would take.
I would take Miami. I just think that and it'll be an interesting matchup. Butler going against Tatum. I think that would be really good TV too. Butler today just 13 points, but they end up getting the win. Let's go to the West. Lakers are awaiting OKC and the Houston winner right now. Game's tied up at 53. Who knows what's going to happen? I thought I think I took OKC when we did our predictions. It's still, who knows? It's a tie game.
I took it in 6.
OKC?
Yeah.
Okay, so here we are in Game 7.
So,
who to you is the tougher matchup for LeBron and the Lakers?
I mean, if you look at it in a situation where who can get hot and cause a lot of problems, it'd probably be the Rockets, because the Rockets are on those threes when they're hitting them. They're obviously a dangerous team when they're hitting them. Then you have Harden's Harden and Westbrook again. That would probably be the harder matchup in a sense, because I think those two when they're again, Westbrook's been a little bit of an anomaly in terms of how he plays and his injury and whatever. But because of how the Rockets shoot the ball and relies so much on the three, that would probably be the worst matchup in terms of if they're hitting them, there'll be a problem. But you also have to look at it. They got nobody inside. And then again, neither do the OKC, and Adams can sort of do it, but PJ Tucker's not gonna be able to handle Anthony Davis whatsoever, in my opinion.
I do want to say though, after they made that Covington trade, I'm almost certain the first game Houston had was against the Lakers, and I think that they smacked them in that game.
And like I said, the 3-point balls is a big thing in those situations. But again, it's one of those things where they're over reliant on it. And like I said, I watched the end of. I thought OKC was done. They were down 6.
Down 0-2 in the series as well, right?
Down 0-2 in the series. And they were down 6 in the last game with a couple minutes left. And Chris Paul takes over and hits a couple big time shots.
Incredible.
He's been incredible. He looks hungry. And that's the situation there. I think that to me the harder matchup would be the Rockets, because they have the guys that can really go off. While I think it's more of a team game for OKC, but I would still favor the Lakers to win that series. But I said it would. I think the better watch would be the Rockets, because I think people would want to see it more. In my opinion, I would rather see that to make it, because it's a little more luster with Harden and so forth. But I don't know. I mean, I'm only one game away from going 8-0 in the playoff prediction, so I'm hoping OKC wins it, because everything else, I thought I was dead in the water with Denver in 7, because Utah was up 3-1, and then I ended up having.
We're gonna get to that as well. Yeah. So Houston up 4 now. I think that
some money on that. That would have been some good.
We all should. Yeah. I think that Houston's by far the tougher matchup for the Lakers, just because of the way they played against them. Lakers have really good bigs inside on defense, but I don't think they have the perimeter guys to guard all of those wing players. The size I don't think is that big of a difference, although it is in terms of height. It hasn't mattered in the games, because Anthony Davis has not done well with smaller guys. It's an uncomfortable matchup, and we're kind of seeing that with some of the Raptors guys too. In that series, it's just difficult having a smaller guy on you.
We also don't have an Anthony Davis in there. That would be a big different situation. If you had Davis instead of Gasol, the series would.
Yeah, just based on how the games have gone this year, I think that if OKC comes through, and to be honest, I think that they're going to pull this game out. I don't know what's going to happen, but regardless, I think that OKC, if they pull this off, I think that they don't have much of a shot really against the Lakers. Although they were one of my dark horse picks to potentially go far, I think that the Rockets are the better shot just because of the shooting. And I don't know if the Lakers can keep it up in terms of shooting the ball from deep. I don't think they have the horses.
And the Lakers, they faced a Portland team that was the worst defensive team in the whole round of the playoffs. So I mean, they're not going to have it as easy as they had it, because And again, Houston's been playing some good defense. From the games that I've watched, they've had some really good lockdown situations. So
the thing too, when you're playing against the Rockets, I think it kind of takes you out of your comfort zone because no matter what type of style you play, you're forced to run with them because they're doing a lot of shooting the ball and then running back, and you have to match up with them. Because if you're Steven Adams running around guarding, let's say Covington, who's 6'7", shooting the three, it can take those guys out of the game. So I think the Rockets are just kind of back and forth.
Yeah, it's
going to game's gonna.
And here's the situation with that is, and I think it's a huge game for D'Antoni because if they lose, he's fired.
But do you okay? So I want to talk about that as well, really quick. Do you think that no matter if Phil Jackson comes back and coaches this Rockets team, do you think it's more to do with James Harden and his playoff failures, or do you think it has to do with the coach?
I mean, you know what? Daryl Morey went in on this small ball situation. He got rid of Capella. They went all in on this kind of philosophy. Got rid of Paul last year to bring in Westbrook, even though no one really thought that they could really play together. I think going back to what happened the last game, that was one of the problems. Harden didn't touch the ball in the last couple possessions. Westbrook had a turnover, made a couple of mistakes. That, like, Westbrook wanting the ball and being very ball heavy, that right there is an issue right there. And now those are one of the situations where the problems that people thought that they couldn't share the ball came through right there. You know, Westbrook tries to do something, gets lodged up in the air, has nowhere to go, throws the ball away to, I think it was Covington under his legs, and then basically the game's over right there. So yeah, I don't know how that's gonna pan out. I don't think that there's a lot of jobs that are around the league that I don't think D'Antoni survives getting beat, because again, this is a situation where it looks bad.
On him?
Oh, it looks bad on the whole organization. You literally traded away the guy to a team that you thought wasn't even going to be able to compete with you in reality. Yeah, because you look at OKC, they lost George, they lost Westbrook. They thought they weren't going to even keep Chris Paul because they were going to be an also-ran.
Trade him off of the
deadline, trade him off to a contender, and then in reality, you get beat by Paul now. That makes you look horrendously stupid.
It's embarrassing.
And even I'll be honest with you, even this going to 7 is a loss to me because. Yeah, it is. Even going to 7 isn't a good look for a team that's supposed to be contending for a championship. And again, you're up 2-0. Like that's already at least a moral victory for Paul, in my opinion, because you were supposedly traded off to an also-ran. And yeah, they got Shea Gildress and they know Gallinari from the George deal, and they've been a pretty solid team and a huge surprise. I know the games. It's going to be an up and down. I'm hoping
it's going to go down to the wire.
It's going to end up being like that Utah game yesterday. That was crazy.
Let's talk about that. Missed layup to end the game, and from Denver. Remember the layup on the fast break?
That was insane too, because if you don't dunk that, you keep the ball and you force him to foul you. So I don't know what the hell that was.
And then Conley gets a decent look on that shot.
He leaned in, it looked like it was going.
For what it was, you know what I mean? For you can't ask for. You're not going to do wide open.
Like 78 to 80. They scored.
I looked at that. It looked like a 90s game. It looked like Jordan rules.
They scored 30 points. I think Denver scored 30 points in the whole half.
15 and 15, 30 points in the half, and then Utah,
Utah had that run because they were down big at the half, and then Utah came on that run, and Murray did not have a good game 7, and he hasn't had good game 7s in his career.
Jokic 30 and 14.
Yeah, that was the difference right there. But I mean, in reality, again, it was
Paul Millsap 1 for 1, 2 points in the game.
Again, 35-year-old Paul, 37, maybe 36 years old, but. The situation there, and again, you can say what you want. When you're up 3-1, if you lose the series, it's a problem there as well. Let's be real. I don't think I know we both sort of thought Utah was going to be a bit of a problem. That's why I had it going.
Well, up 3-1,
but I didn't think it was going to go down the way it went down. I thought that Denver was going to be up 3-2, or even though it would be a pretty even series back and forth. But when you're up 3-1, you got to close that series. You have 3 chances to close that series.
What about so Gobert and Mitchell? We know that they've had their differences since the whole COVID thing. Do you think they keep them together?
Well, Mitchell's getting that contract extension for 7 years.
We know that he's going to get it, but do you think that they keep the core together now?
I mean, they overachieved. They overachieved.
Bogdanovich has been out.
Yeah, they overachieved the situation. They need a couple more depth pieces. They were relying a lot on Jordan Clark. I think Jordan Clarkson was leading scorer.
Since they got him at the deadline, it's crazy. But he's been their best bench guy, and
But you can't be the leading scorer at the half.
No, just like you said about OG.
You can't be doing that. And again, Donovan Mitchell looked tired. He's 50 points here, 40 points.
He's handling the ball a lot. He looked exhausted.
And again, that's
Conley's been terrible. 40 minutes, 8 points.
Well, again, Conley hasn't been the same player for the last 3 years.
2 for 13.
So yeah, you don't want him shooting that shot. But again, you really had no choice. I don't know if they had a timeout in that situation. I would have, again, same thing. I would have called a timeout and set up a play. But I didn't know if they had one at that point because the game was pretty much wrapped up. But you know what? Like you have like Vince in the Philly. You know, you got one shot. You literally rimmed out. It looked like it was good.
It did.
And then, but you know what? I think that Denver deserved it from what Murray had been doing, and I'm glad to see that the Kitchener boys really came to play.
He's dominated.
He's been a guy that was, you know, what is he? He's a good player, but now he's gotten up to a level where you got him on that
top 20 player in the league,
20
maybe
all-star player, and that's because he's shown out in the playoffs. And this is the stage,
and that's to be honest what we've been waiting for from our guys.
Yeah, well, in a situation where again he had a good.
Fred's been solid for the most part.
As a quote unquote lead situations, it's all well and good when again it's easy. Like again, I'm playing basketball with you, and all the attention's on you. Then yeah, that's open looks. I can hit them all good. But then when you're off the team and you go to a better pass,
start your own team.
You start my own team, and then everyone's the focal point. Then yeah, you get a different ball game, and that's been their issue. Again, their efficiency levels. Like there was a chart I saw it last year. Their efficiency levels with Kawhi off the court in the first 3 games against Philly were staggeringly terrible. I'm talking it was like 109 with Kawhi on 40 and 50s. I saw the tweet. It was like 40 and 50s, and then with Kawhi on 109, 110, it was like half. It was ridiculous. That's why literally Nurse would have to literally give Kawhi 2 minutes and get him back in. Yeah. It was insane. You would think they would have taken a step, and I know we're not supposed to be doing Raptors again, but
okay, but just to say that, and that's why, like I said, when I keep coming back to Boston and Miami being the toughest matchups for the Raptors, when you're getting, we talked about this so many times, when you're playing Sacramento, Phoenix, Charlotte, these teams in the regular season, you don't need to worry about any of that because they're not good defensive teams. There's no pressure on you to win any of these games. When you get to the second round, the third round, the finals, you're playing against teams that bring it on defense, that have proven performer, guys that can hit shots. That's what you need to measure. That's your barometer for success. Not how you win against teams below 500.
See, they gave me a bit of fool's gold because of how they did in the bubble.
The Mr. Grant stuff.
Yeah, no, because if you look at it, they had the hardest schedule in the bubble, and I'm thinking, oh man, this.
We did talk about how rough it was going to be. Yeah,
I was thinking, they Boston's not too far away. If they go like 3 for 5 or win 2 out of this,
they might drop out of the
second spot. So and when they go in there and they go 7-1, where they only lose the game against Boston,
but they get smacked,
which was a stinker on a Friday night, and they got smacked. I had a little bit of higher hopes because they beat Miami at full strength. They beat the Nuggets, they beat the Lakers. I'm thinking, okay, so these guys might be a problem. I even went on a different Las Vegas betting one, and I'm like, they legitimately asked me, and maybe I was using my heart instead of more of my head. They asked me, who's winning the championship, and I'm like, I gotta go with the Raptors because I'm like, just the way their momentum, how they have been playing, and then the guy, one of the guys, is just looking at me, shaking his head, and I'm like, it's not me trying to be a homer. I legitimately think that they got things going, but yeah, and again, even the Vegas odds were getting a little higher up there because of how they've been playing, but. Again, for the moment, you cannot shoot. Again, 35-40% off of 3, you're winning the games. Getting some stuff out of you get the same continuation out of like guys like Serge, you're winning the games. Just equal out with the big 3. I don't think that's asking too much, to be honest with you.
Okay, question for you.
Equal out the 3 guys, equal out the points, or even get a little bit closer. Not 20.
Yeah. Okay, so question. Do you think that we have a few free agents coming up now, right? Mark obviously probably will be back with the team, so don't worry about that. OG and Fred specifically, do you think that their playoff performances so far, and they've been complete opposites? Not to say that Fred's been decent. Obviously, he hasn't been good the last 2 games. Does Fred have money to lose right now, or do you think that he's going to get paid regardless? Do you think that if he goes out shooting the way he's shooting, and OG continues at the pace that he's been at, averaging 18, 20 points this series, playing some pretty good defense, do you think that there's a bit of a swing in terms of the next contract these guys sign?
I think... Again, OG, even if they go out in 4, if OG continues to play the way that he is, he's going to get paid, and deservedly so. He's a good defensive player. He's had some bad luck with a couple of those, I think both those 3-point shots where they ended up being 4-point plays ended up being him because he got undercut a couple times, and then he falls over on guys' legs, which is again unfortunate. He's done again. I don't know what he's going to get money wise. If he's going to get 15 or whatever it is, I don't think he's going to get anywhere close to the max because he's been injured and he doesn't have the offensive game. when it comes to Fred, and I said last time we did this, the guy's a fan favorite. Or whatever. If he gets offers, and I know the Knicks want him, if he starts getting offers at crazy money, I think he might overprice himself out of the team. It's simple as that, because at the end of the day, based off of what you're seeing now, if this continues for them, if they get swept and he has a terrible series, there's no way you can tell me that you're going to give that guy $25 million based off him shooting 5 for 22 from the 3-point line. And again, he was terrible defensively yesterday, which is not
uncharacteristic
because he's usually quite good. Marcus Smart was eating him alive at the time, which is a problem. So yeah, he's definitely in a situation where if the Knicks offer him a max deal, you're probably saying
I don't think he's getting a max. If he would have, and it would have been close before this series, or if let's say he had a playoff similar to what he did in the finals last year, if he's averaging 20 against a team like Boston, where he's scoring 100 points, you're doing 20% of your team scoring, you're going to get paid. But like we talked about so many times, when the cream rises to the top in all of these semifinals, the conference finals, and we've seen time and time again from the Raptors without a superstar, what their true colors are.
So I'll give you a little bit of a metaphor in a situation. So they're right now they're in a Mike Tyson fight where you're fighting against a guy like Mike Tyson. In the first round, they were fighting a guy like Buster Douglas. That's the problem. I think that's also the first game was a huge wake up call, because while the Celtics had again the 76ers weren't at full strength without Ben, it was more of a grind out series. The Raptors handily, except for game 2, the Nets were pretty much outclassed in a cakewalk. You're facing guys that are literally off the streets at the time. So they probably were like,
we're gonna walk into this.
In the first game, they're like, oh man, like this is a different step up level in competition. They weren't ready. They weren't ready because again, Boston had been playing at that for the last 4 games with Philly because it was a tighter series. And then game 2 happens where they play a lot. They play better in a sense defensively, in my opinion, in a lot of instances. But then they still can't shoot. So they've gotten the gap. And now that they need to bring it. But yeah, it was Buster Douglas, and now you step up to Mike Tyson or Lennox Lewis or whatever. And that's their issue. Now they got to bring up and raise their game. If these guys can't do it, Yeah, Pascal is already been signed. He's going to be the generation.
He's going to be there for the next 5 years.
Kyle is done as of next year. That's it. That's going to be it for him. And yes, do you keep Fred in a sense that he's your future point guard? That's going to be how Masai's got a lot. He definitely has a plan in order, and he's gonna have the money because he's gonna like more. I think Serge has been useful enough that I'd probably bring him back on a 1 year if it's a reasonable deal. Mark's probably gone. Great memories. Thanks for the parade, little drunken situation, good defense. But again, I just
we need to get my guy to stress reliever.
Don't, and again, Mark was an all-star for years and years, and again, he's his age. But I've never seen a guy lose an offensive game like he's lost. Like he's a legitimate guy that's throwing out donuts, and a guy that used to average at least 18 20 points a game, and it was easy for him. Right now, he looks like one of the guys in the
YMCA.
No, in the freaking Space Jam 2 that they lost his talent offensively. The aliens got him through the nose because he, at the end of the day, lost. Yeah, that's how I saw his dad. Yeah, like he goes in for a layup. He looks like he's Charles Barkley.
Okay, so first play of the game, or first basket of the game for the Raptors, I remember yesterday when they went up 2-0, they feed Mark the ball down low, and the rim is literally right here. You're 7-1. Throw it down, set the tone for the team. Say, you know what, our big man's here. We're going to feed him, do something. This is a guy that one of the best post guys in the game his entire career. And he'll operate down low. Now he's become a hesitant 3-point
It's a
shooter.
shell of what he was.
And nothing. And I don't get it.
Big space.
But I digress.
We're going to
need to move on right now and talk about the last series. So we got the Clippers right now against Denver. We talked about Denver. Do you think really that there's any chance that the Clippers lose this series?
So, I mean, I think the Nuggets are going to be significantly worn out for again, with only, they play again tomorrow. They don't have much rest. Matchup wise, I think the Nuggets are better defensively than the Mavs are because the Mavs weren't good defensively, especially with Porzingis out. Sure. I just think that there's no. I don't want to say that Jokic isn't a Luka level player because he can be, but I mean, that's probably where the Nuggets have the advantage, where it's inside, because you have Zubac or you have Harold on Jokic.
So they're gonna
If
stand
Jokic can have
30 and 15,
30
like
and
he's
15,
been, yeah.
and Murray can continues it up, you never know. But the way that the Clippers, and the way that they finished off the series with the Mavs, yeah, I don't think that the Nuggets will have enough to beat them. I think that'll be another 6-gamer, because the Clippers have too much going on, and they have the depth. And if Paul George wakes up, they're a problem.
If Paul George wakes up,
yeah, the last two games. And again,
Dallas looked like they were laying on the ground in those last 2 games.
Like even the Marcus Morris situation with Luka.
Oh yeah,
that's
a fight.
That got him into a fine. That to me was a suspension-worthy situation.
A serious suspension. Yeah.
No, but they gave him $5,000 fine or whatever it was, or $25,000.
Can you imagine if they tried to do that to Kawhi Leonard and they had that same kind of intensity?
Yeah, you clap a guy in the head like that, you try to injure the guy. I don't care what he says. That little thing with the shoe thing, that was definitely intentional. Yeah. I don't care what he says, because he knew exactly what angle
that was a Zaza Pachulia on Kawhi. Remember that?
Yeah, exactly, with the foot.
Yeah.
You're trying to injure the best guy, so you have a problem. And that's the way he plays. That's the way he plays. But the league should have suspended him at least one game.
100%. Yeah.
But it is what it is. You find the guy. It's a playoff game. Whatever. They're gonna have a tougher situation with a lot of, because some of the Nuggets guys are
Porter Jr., Craig,
Will Barton. Yeah, you're gonna. The thing with Luka, well, after Porzingis, and again, I personally still do think with Porzingis healthy, that series might have turned out differently from the way it was looking, because Luka was on. Yeah. But as soon as you lose Porzingis in that secondary scoring option, then you got to rely more on Seth Curry and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist and all these other situations. It's not going to happen. There just wasn't enough secondary scoring, and Hardaway too. This again, I'm taking the Clippers in 6 in that series because
I think it goes 6.
Yeah, I think the Nuggets will take a couple games. Murray will have a couple games. I think Jokic again. He won't have to deal with a guy like Gobert inside, he might be a difference maker, and if they win the series, he's the catalyst. I don't think it'll be Murray. I think it'll be Jokic, because they don't have the guy that'll deal with Jokic inside, in my opinion.
And the playmaking.
Again, if they can hit their shots, it's going to be interesting. I think the first game the Clippers will take them, because I just think they're mentally drained.
Denver's worn out from the last game.
Yeah. So I can see the Clippers beating them badly tomorrow. But I think that'll be. To me, it's still the same situation that I thought it was going to be in the West. It's going to be Lakers, Clippers, and we all want to see that anyway. So let's get down to the brass tactics out there. Everyone wants to see that.
Yeah.
And again, I'm sure I'll get texts from the.
You're going to get a lot. You're going to get a lot.
Because all of a sudden, he's on the Mr. Kawhi bandwagon train and all that other stuff and whatever.
I think that I'm probably Jokic's biggest fan, but I just think that the Clippers have too much firepower, and I don't think that this game goes long. That the series goes longer than 5 games, to be honest. Yeah, I think that it's a matchup problem for Denver. I don't think Denver has enough secondary scoring. They're one of the deeper teams in the league, like the Raptors in the regular season. They have a lot of guys on the bench that can just go off. I just haven't seen it yet. I know that Utah's really good defensively, and the Clippers on paper are really good defensively. I just don't think that they brought it. I don't think Beverly's played yet. I know he's been over for most of the last series.
Beverly was out for most of the last series.
And he's arguably their best defender behind Kawhi. I know that Paul George hasn't been the same either.
The crazy thing is with the scheduling of the games being so quick, that if you have an injury that puts you out a month, you can pretty much almost miss the entire game. The series, if not 2.
Yeah.
So if it's a 4-week injury, you're pretty like Hayward's not coming back for even if they're.
He looks like he's done. Even if they get to the finals, it would be tough for him to come out.
I thought it was 4 weeks and when they called it, but even then, actually, to be honest with you, looking at the Marcus Smart situation, because he's getting more minutes, it might have been better off because Hayward's a worse defender than Smart is. I think they might be better. I mean, offensively, Hayward's the better.
They don't have the depth, but it's definitely been tougher for the Raptors for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then in the
Raptors coming back or what? We can't leave them hanging. I have Raptors in 7. That's the way how if it's gonna play out. If it's gonna play out, it's gonna play out that way. They're not gonna beat them 4 straight. So if it's gonna play out for the Raptors, it has to be in 7. I know you said it's 6, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah, I said 6. And if they come back to win 4 straight, that would be almost more impressive than anything.
Well, yeah, especially again the way that they've been playing, 100%. But again, do I legitimately think that they're gonna win the series based off what I've seen now? I mean, I'm gonna be.
How many games did the Raptors pull off?
I'm just hoping not to get swept. I guess that's gonna be the clip.
Oh my god.
That was from some kind of movie.
Just hoping they don't get swept.
I think
I'm going to say Raptors can pull out 2 games.
I think the Celtics probably beat them in 6.
I think that the Raptors have to win. I don't know. I thought even that the series still goes 6. It's going to be tough for the Raptors to go 7. I can't say how many times I've said it. Just I don't think that the Raptors have the scoring to go against that type of defense, and it's going to be tough.
Well, the way that they've been going,
it's not a lock that they're going to shoot out of the shooting slot. That's another thing.
Now, Game 3, they come out guns a blazing, and they win.
And they have to come out guns a blazing.
Yeah,
right?
and they win, and they win handily. Then your mentality changes because they can't be again. They've been historically bad from 3, and that's not going to happen the entire series.
That's what I'm saying though. I don't know how you can be so sure that things are going to change.
Well, because they really can't get much worse.
But you can remain the same.
So they're not going to get swept. I mean, yeah.
Would you be shocked if Kyle continues to shoot 18-20% from 3? Would you be shocked?
Well, you know how I think about Kyle.
I'll be
honest. I have a lot more faith in Fred than I do Kyle, because I think Kyle's like that guy that he's offered you enough candy over the years, like your neighbor, and he's burned you on a few times with some of the candy, maybe it's terrible or whatever, and after a while you just don't want candy from him at all. That kind of thing. So Kyle to me, is always going to be the guy that he was around for a championship, but he had more failures than positive times, and that's just all honesty.
Playoff failures.
Yeah.
You've been solid regular season. I do have to give him that.
But Fred's in more of my good graces because at the end of the day,
he's delivered.
To me, he's just more likable in general. To be honest.
Yeah, it's true. He's not as much of a complainer.
Yeah,
To answer the question though, I'm going to say that it goes 6. Boston wins in 6. It's tough. And to be honest, if Kawhi's here, I know that some people have said we had faith in the Raptors last year. Superfan Mo, I'm hearing you saying that have faith in the Raptors, and I want to have faith. But without Kawhi, it's going to be really tough to not have, a guarantee of 20-25 points in a series someone's leaning on. And the Raptors don't have that. And for that reason, like I said, would I be shocked based on how the first 2 games have gone if they get swept? I can't say I'd be shocked. Going into the series, I would have been. Like I said, I would have said 6 or 7 either way. It's a coin flip. From an unbiased opinion, talking about it, I think it was a 50-50 series.
And we got to be realistic. If you look at the NBA champions over the last, I was since the Pistons pulled that off. I think the Pistons were the only team that I can remember that actually won a championship that didn't have a legitimate superstar player, and that's been 17 years. The Raptors had some of that DNA with the defense and so forth, but I mean, there's no Ben Wallace in there, or in my opinion, and there's no Sheed. Yeah, and so you need it's a star-driven league, and Pascal made the All-Star team, Kyle made the All-Star team, but to me, they're not. They're second-tier stars where you don't consider them to be top 10 players, and usually ones that like Dirk. I guess you can go. I don't know if Dirk was top 10 at that point.
He's top 10.
Tim Duncan. It's always been a star-driven league, and the stars are the ones that usually deliver in the playoffs. And again, the Raptors saw with LeBron. I don't want to get too LeBron's horn, but at the end of the day, it is what it is, right? He owned them the majority of the time because he was just legitimately a better player. Simple as that, really.
And that's going to wrap it up for this episode. We don't get swept. Raptors, don't let us down. Represent for the city.
At least make it a series.
Yeah, make it a series. Be competitive. I know the last game we lost by 3, another winnable game. Need to come out guns blazing, like you said. We're going to need to see some Marcus Gasol baskets, maybe a dunk. Give him a mean face, do something different.
Big Spain, big Andorra, the way he's been playing.
It was Raptors. We're going to say our prayers for you guys. Hopefully win the series, win a few games, make us proud. For Igor, Joe, we'll see you guys next on the block. Shit.